Thanks everyone for being on. Really excited to celebrate this group today. Long process that went into this class of 2025. Want to start off by thanking our staff and our coaches. Endless scouting visits, phone calls, handwritten letters, camps, official visits. A lot of work that goes into all that, but just really excited about this group in terms of not only the athletic ability that they have shown and the potential that they show to help us win a lot of games in the Big Ten, but a group of young men and families that align with what we see ourselves building here in the future. High character, tough, passionate about the game of football, value the academic degree that Northwestern offers, the experience that exists here, and in a rapidly changing landscape in college football. During a time that we were heavily recruiting these young men, and got a lot of these commitments over the months of May, June, and July. There was a lot of uncertainty on what that looked like, and all these young men and their families, for the most part, made decisions, early on in the process because of, uh, the things that exist here at Northwestern. Opportunity to play Big Ten football, to be developed over the course of 4 years, and the opportunity to earn a Northwestern degree. No doubt in my mind that this group sets a foundation for us to have a lot of long-term success, not only off the field, but on the field and winning a lot of games in the Big Ten.
First question, Henry.
Hey, Coach. So Nikki from New Trier, got a couple from Lincoln Way East, Lincoln Way West. Could you go into the process that you undertake with local recruiting and how important it is to this class?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. I think one of the things that I was most excited about when I took the job here as defensive coordinator, I've recruited the Chicagoland area in the state of Illinois for over a decade, and lot of really strong relationships in the Chicagoland area. We will always prioritize in-state recruits just from a standpoint of school visits, relationships with high school coaches. We've had a really strong connection to Lincoln Way East, uh, and that continues with Caden O'Rourke. Very strong relationship with Glenbard West. Grayson Metz, Will Hulkyard. Now having Michael O'Connell coming. Luke Lokank over at Lincoln Way West is someone I played my college football with. Does a tremendous job. And at the end of the day, we're going to trust our evaluations, trust our opportunities to get in school, trust these high school coaches, especially in the state of Illinois, their opinions. And I'll never forget. Coach McGargle and I had an opportunity to go down, watch Josh Veldman in a workout, and both of us walked away going, man, Josh Feldman's a guy that we got to make sure becomes a cat. And the process was off and running from there. Caden O'Rourke came to our one-day camp in the summer of 2023, so almost a year and a half ago. Was offered prior to going into his junior year, but we trusted our evaluation, trusted the relationship that we have with the O'Rourke family, Coach Zovnar's, evaluation of his character. We were early in on Caden, and so fortunate to have him staying home here in Illinois. And other, Noah Laporte, big tight end, from outside the blueprint of the Chicagoland, but really excited about what he's going to bring to us. And Nicky, being just down the road, so happy to keep him home. Has the opportunity to be an absolute difference maker in special teams.
Next question, Matt.
Hey, Coach. This time last year, still made a couple more additions in the second signing window. Is your class of 25 complete at 20 players right now?
It is, yes.
Louis.
Hey, Coach. Happy signing day. I got a question for you. I've had the pleasure of talking to Marcus Romaine several times over the last year. Great kid. What made him a take so early for you? What did you see in him, and what do you hope he brings to the offense? And Is he the kind of guy you think can make an impact right away, like as a freshman, possibly?
I think the early impact is a huge question mark, and something that we would never, want to put on a quarterback. There's a lot of things that go into that transition. I am excited that Marcus is early enrolling and going to have a chance to be here in January. Um, but Marcus is a great case of how critical it is to do thorough scouting because when you watch Marcus's tape from his junior year, um, he's a good player. He's a good athlete. You can tell that he spins the ball well. Uh, but when you go down and get a chance to spend time with high school coaches and watch a workout, and Coach Lujan got a chance to see him throw, and then you continue to get to know him and his personality and his demeanor. Marcus just continued to prove to be someone that we really felt was flying under the radar. Trusted our evaluation, trusted our time with him in terms of his character, his understanding of the games. One of his closest mentors, is very close with Northwestern. So like he already had an appreciation of, what Northwestern stood for. And unfortunately for Marcus in his senior season, suffered a hand injury that kept him out of a lot of football. The offense that he plays in, hey, high school coaches got to make decisions that are in their best interest to trying to win games at that level, but didn't necessarily fit, an opportunity to truly evaluate what he can do on the college level. And that's where the scouting aspect of what we do is so important. But we trusted our eval, made a decision to offer. Our offers here at Northwestern are very thorough and immediately committable. And Marcus fell in love with this place and made an early decision. Really excited about his upside, and think he's someone that uh, has a quick release, spins the ball well, and has athleticism to be utilized in some forms of quarterback run game, but more importantly, extend plays and use his feet to pick up first downs.
Thank you.
Matt.
This time last year, a couple or about a month later, you made 5 coaching changes kind of in that stretch. And that's also something, position coaches have a huge impact on signing recruits and evaluations and all that stuff. There might be possibly ongoing evaluation right now, but are there any anticipated changes between now and next season for your assistants?
No. I think what we're really focused on right now, Matt, is celebrating this class of 2025. As all of us know, there's a lot going on in college football right now. It's exit meetings with our players. It's really working to solidify what our roster looks like, not only for winter and spring, but also the fall of 2025. And then when things do slow down there, there's going to be a lot of time and opportunity for us to evaluate everything, as I've said before, from a standpoint of how we're operating in the offseason and spring ball, how we're structured as a staff. There's a lot that's changed since last year. Coaching, on-field coaching has gone to unlimited. How do we maximize that? Um, with the revenue share on the way and house, expected to hopefully be settled in April. How are we structuring our organizational flow to, maximize high school recruiting, retention of our current players, and transfer evaluations and recruiting? There's a lot to evaluate, especially coming off a 4-8 season. Uh, we got to get better. Everyone's got to get better. I have to get better. But right now, so much of our energy is in our current players coming off this season and really focused on to be honest with you, we'll never be transfer centric, but it's a part of building a roster and very focused on that right now.
Henry.
Coach, how has your experience as a player shape your recruiting process?
Yeah, I think my experience as a player, being a D2 guy, being a developmental guy, someone that didn't play high school football, or didn't play football till I was a freshman in high school, grew up playing primarily hockey. I think it's you know, led to number one, wanting to be a thorough evaluator of, long-term potential, not worried about, the stars next to someone's name, but asking ourselves, who can this young man be 36 months from now? And what I'm really saying is 24 months after they arrive on campus, because so much of this evaluation process starts so early now in college scouting and recruiting. Um, I think I'm very relationship driven in the way that, I approach it. And a lot of that stems from who I am, what I value, what the staff values, but also, um, you know, the impact that coaches had on my life that recruited me. Tom Sawyer, head coach at Winona State, still a close mentor and friend. Brian Hiller, who was the one that identified me, at a combine before my senior year in high school. I owe everything to Brian. He invited me to come up to team camp and get a chance to showcase myself to the Winona State staff. I would have never gone to Winona State if it wasn't for Brian Hiller. He's still someone that I cherish a relationship with. And then Matt Entz, my position coach throughout college. Who's become a close mentor and friend, very relationship driven. And in a world of college football right now that has become very transactional, um, I think myself and our staff really pride ourselves on genuinely getting to know the young men that we're recruiting, being very transparent and honest. Something that, I'll brag about, with this class of 2025 is, um, these young men know what's on the horizon, and we've worked to educate them in terms of what's on the horizon in college football. But in terms of our recruiting process, not a single one of these young men was induced to come to Northwestern over NIL dollars. Like there wasn't a single cent of NIL committed to these young men. They made this decision because Northwestern was the right fit for them to reach their full potential. They believed in the staff, they believed in the institution, they believed in the program, and they, this doesn't get out into the media, but the amount of, I mean, big time programs across the country that, tried to come in on these guys late. I think speak in the fact that we got to signing day and kept all our commitments, I think is a testament to the character of the young men that were signing, their families, and also credit to the staff that are the job that our staff did throughout the process.
Louis.
Hey, Coach. Today's it's National Signing Day, obviously today, and you gained 20 new signees, but you also lost a couple multi-year starters today, and it happens. That's the new reality of college football, and I understand that. My question is it tougher for Northwestern as a development program to absorb those kind of losses, right? So you develop these guys for 3 or 4 years, and you lose them. Is it harder for a school like Northwestern, a development program, to sustain those losses and make up for it in other ways?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, the whole thing is flipped on its head, right? And we're trying to figure it out. I think there's really unique opportunity in the new landscape for us to do it better than we've ever done. Clearly, from this class, signing 20 guys shows a true commitment to continue to be a developmental program and wanted to build it, from the high school ranks up. But moving forward, I think with the way that things are structured, and some of the things that we're going to be able to, things that we've already put into place from a process standpoint, I think now more than ever, we're structured to strategically identify the right transfers that we think fit our culture, that can help us immediately. And that's something that we're really excited about when we're diving into as a staff. This staff has been, I mean, absolutely full tilt from Sunday morning on to make sure that we're addressing the things that we need to address. And anyone that decides to leave our program, wish them nothing but the best. But the thing that I've completely embraced, in this landscape is, I'm not going to put any energy into being concerned about those that leave. I'm going to put all of my effort and energy into the young men that want to be here, that understand the value of being here. And I can just tell you, the Carmine Bass Stones, the Najee Stories, the Josh Fussels, the Oriadades, who's, coming off an injury, that are just like full tilt bought into what we're doing, the Anto Sakas of the world. Like, I mean, I can just go on and on and on. Our staff's going to put all our effort and energy into those guys and make sure that we put together a plan to put this team in a situation to have, a really exciting, successful 2025 season.
Just as a follow-up, can you talked about changes in the process to help you strategically in the portal. Can you talk more about those?
Yeah, what I will say is really grateful for Mark Jackson's leadership, um, Pat Goss's leadership, Jacob Schmidt's leadership and work, and also thankful to the top end leadership of our institution. From top down, from our board to President Schill, the Kathleen Haggerty, like there's still a lot to work through and still a lot of conversations that need to be had. But there's also been an awareness that this landscape is changing and we need to be willing to adapt. And I've been really grateful for the willingness to have those conversations. And I think there's truly is ability for us to find some ways to successfully get transfers in, not just in June, but at the mid-year and at the spring's quarter break point before the majority of spring ball starts. That will be really critical to us developing and evaluating our team.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Matt?
The class of 24 last year, kind of put together under fire. You weren't the full-time coach, for most of the season and most of that process. Ended up ranked 81st. You had 7 two-star players. This year, right now, there's sometimes still some shuffling around, but classes ranked around the low 50s, 19 3 stars. That's basically right around the 5-year average ranking of the class at Northwestern before you got here. Is this the standard going forward, or do you think there's even more ground to be gained now that you and the staff have some more comfort, having season under your belt heading into the next season?
There's definitely ground to be gained. But it's not on the same metric that you're talking about, Matt. And I get it. That's like the metric that we all look at and easiest for people to access. And I'm not trying to devalue the process that goes through on that, but you know, so many of those rankings, whether you're using Marquette Dorsey or Caden O'Rourke or I mean, take your pick of this stat, this group of commits. A lot of those rankings are evaluated so early on in the process, and like just turn on Caden O'Rourke's senior highlight tape, like. I don't care what you say about how many stars are next to his name. Like, I mean, the film pops. Um, I don't think Marquette Dorsey put out a senior highlight tape. Um, but we've watched his tape throughout the year. Like, whoa, and I mean, the list goes on. Michael O'Connell has only played 2 years of high school football. But if you've had a chance to shake Michael O'Connell's hand and spend some time in the room with him, like that guy wants nothing more than an opportunity to be a cat, get a Northwestern education, be coached by Bill O'Boyle, be pushed and developed. You know what? And he'll have some growing pains, as he develops into Big Ten offensive tackle. But my gosh, 2 years from now, like I'm just, my gosh, so excited. I mean, I could go through every single guy on this list, and the second that we become driven by those rankings is the second, in my opinion, that we lose our way. I appreciate you bringing it up. I do think we can continue to hone and improve our process and continue to be more and more excited about the classes that we're bringing in. But we'll never use those rankings as a litmus to grade, how we went about it. And to your point, very proud of the 2024 class that we put together, but that was under unique circumstances. I think with a full staff and scouting and recruiting, a coaching staff that had a chance to go through a full cycle together. Me finding my rhythm as a head coach in terms of what it looked like. I think there's only room for us to first acknowledge how proud we are at 24 and 25 classes, but also to be able to identify we got to find ways to continue to do it better moving forward.
And for a few more, David?
Hey, Coach. just with the way this house settlement is going, looks like there's going to be a roster limit of around 105. It may mean the elimination of a true walk on. You guys saw the advantage of those with Drew Wagner being a prime example this year. Have you thought about just leaving extra spots on this roster open for guys like Drew Wagner and walk ons at Northwestern?
Yes, we will not go up to 105 scholarships. Like regardless if that's something budgetarily or not that like we'd have the ability to do, we won't do it. The walk-on opportunities are something that's really important to us. But to be honest with you, David, we are still working through like how that exactly looks, how the cycle plays out. Um, a lot of institutions are going to push to have 105 on their roster at every juncture of the calendar. And what that means is you bring people in and then you push people out, and you bring people in and you push people out. Well, we don't want to do that at Northwestern at the same time. We got to find ways to make sure we still have enough on the roster for great off seasons, great spring balls, a great summer, a very effective physical fall camp as we prep for the season. There's some things I feel like we're really gaining traction on. There's others that we still have a lot of work to do, and the roster management piece of it, specifically relating to the 105, is something that we got to find a way to do it our way, stay true to our values, but also make sure that we're building a roster that's um, prepared to play, a ton of winning football in the Big Ten.
And just to follow up on that, I know nothing's finalized yet, but how did those numbers that have been floated out there, that 105 specifically, impact how you recruited this class of 25?
Yeah, I mean that was to be honest with you the hardest part is as we set this plan and put it into action and put offers out. A lot of these commitments were coming in before that was finalized. So, um, you know, we've said offers are committable until we fill up at a position. We felt confident in the young men that we had offered, and you know, eh, again, I don't know all the details around, the landscape of college football right now, but, there's probably been some more moving parts in classes than there have been in past years. These young men, for the most part, have been committed for a long time, and we're committed to them. And um, yeah, I think the message to this group and every young group is going to be, the thought of, hey, I'm in a red shirt and it's going to take a year to develop. There's going to have to be a sense of urgency the second you step on campus to, yes, we're a developmental program, but it's a race to maturity. It's a race to development. And, how can you, with rosters being trimmed down to 105, every single person on that roster is going to play a critical role to our success in the fall.
Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely.
Henry?
Coach, obviously with the Ryan Field, the first beams going up last week, how much of a pull factor is that when you're talking to recruits, you say, hey, in 2026, you can play in this $800 million sleek looking modern stadium.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't have words for it. I mean, it's huge. It's a game changer. It's all those things. When you have that conversation with a young man, I mean, some of the responses are like, holy cow, or what? Like almost like a sense of disbelief. And then they get to see it, the renderings, and, then some of the media that's out there in video format, I mean, really, really pops. And I think it's also a reflection of, the universities and our donors and the Ryan families, commitment to doing this, you know, uh, at a really high level. If we're going to talk about these lofty goals that we have for this program, um, the investment needs to meet the expectations, and clearly, what we have on the horizon in terms of, the best stadium in college football to play in starting in 2026. It's a strong message to recruits and families, what we're doing moving into the future. And there's no doubt that it's having a positive impact on recruiting, especially with our high school student athletes.
Thanks, Coach.
And for two more, Matt?
You mentioned that race to maturity. One of the huge things about that is the opportunity to enroll early. Do you already have your list of who in this class will be on campus by January? And I know they're not here yet, but is there anyone right now you think could potentially contribute immediately next season?
Yeah, no, That's a good question. We'll have 7 here early enrolling. Um, I'll be honest with you, Matt, like that's a question I've answered a lot over the years as a coach. And I've rarely been right about that. I never would have told you that Drew Wagner was going to be able to contribute for us this year. Um, it's so fickle in terms of that transition. So I even with our staff, I've told them, I said, guys, I'm not going to pinpoint guys that I expect to contribute early. It's our job to just have an incredible sense of urgency to make sure that they are, it is a race to maturity and to development, so we can provide an opportunity for all these guys to impact the team positively, going into fall 2025.
Last question, Louis.
Hey, Coach. I want to go back to quarterbacks. Northwestern really kind of struggled with high school quarterback recruiting for several years before you arrived, and now you got Marcus Romaine in this class, and you've already got a 2026 quarterback who's committed. I guess my question: are you more consciously aggressive about quarterback recruiting, or is that more, Zach Lujan's? That's his MO. That's the way he does things.
Yeah, I think high school quarterback recruiting, it starts with the quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator, certainly, but the head coach has to be intimately involved in that whole process. And as much as I trust Zach's evaluations, like those calls, like the final decision on that is I'm making that decision. And at the end of the day, the quarterback's character and leadership quality has such an impact on a football team, not only with on-field production, but the locker room. And that's something that, when I've seen it done at its best, the head coach, quarterback coach, and offensive coordinator are an absolute lockstep on that. And one thing that I noticed, Zach was able to, see it firsthand. With Mark at South Dakota State, I was fortunate to be a part of it with Trey Lance and Cam Miller, and observed it with Easton Stick and Carson Wentz. Like, there's certain skill sets that are required to be a top end quarterback at the college level, but there's also intangibles that are just so critical to, the ultimate stat line that a quarterback has is wins and losses. And no, that's something that Zach and I talk about regularly. We were very, involved in the process on our decision with Marcus, and then with our commit in 2026. That was something that we really worked through, and we're fortunate to have a camp evaluation, and he blew us out of the water, and he had dreamed of being a cat. Like, that is a huge part of my job description as the head coach, to be very involved with everything that goes into quarterback recruiting, scouting, recruiting, and decisions of offers and commitments.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Go Cats.